Yeah, yeah. I was like, fuck.
Oh, man, it fucking sucked. All right, and we're live. So, welcome to our continuing coverage of the Showtime Gothic horror series, Penny Dreadful. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, I've got the Agoraphobe.
Oh,
Partners in crime for Penny Dreadful. This past weekend we had the Easter holiday, so we took the day off. And then yesterday I was in the middle of something, so we've kicked the can to do it now. But it's all good, and we're here. So thank you, and welcome again to the show.
absolutely.
Yeah, man. Tell me, I guess, in a nutshell, what you thought of this week's episode, what Death has brought together.
Yeah, what
Death can join together. Excuse me.
Yeah, what Death can join, yeah. It was pretty good. Found out a little bit more about Dorian, maybe a little bit more about Vanessa. Found out what what happened after Brona went crazy on Ethan, all that kind of stuff. And got a little bit deeper into Van Helsing and the master.
Yeah, last week was a complete exposition episode where they just gave you all the backstory on Sir Malcolm and Vanessa and Mina and how things got so fucked up and everybody's fucked. It really is fucked up on its own. I mean, like everybody's fucking everybody else, and so you could see how lives would get ruined doing that. At the very least, friendships are destroyed. This goes a step further. In the supernatural sense. And, we saw the horror show that was Vanessa's experience in the psychiatric hospital. But we got back to business this time, kind of picking up where we left off from episode 4, which was the death of Fenton the vampire. And for some reason, Dorian Gray fucking Mr. Chandler, those two fucking each other. It kind of picks up, where we left off with episode 4, and we come back and we find the aftermath of the trashed room and kind of an argument going on between Vanessa and Sir Malcolm because clearly his blood is up, figuratively speaking, after a night like that. Do you want to get into it?
Yeah, they what I find interesting about the whole thing was when the show starts, they have problems with each other, but you feel like they're a little closer than what you come to find out in the flashback scene. That's where you really dig in and find out where they really do have deep-seated problems, and you found out why.
Yeah.
I thought they were a little closer than that until it got into that, and you see how harsh they are with each other now. We got the first hint when he kind of threw her up for grabs, when he used her as bait. We kind of got the first hint that he may have a little bit more against her than what we thought to begin with.
Yeah, you never cease to... Things change a little bit as the show goes on, but especially right now, you always get the impression that they're just a half a second away from throwing each other under the bus.
Right.
It's like a team of coworkers who don't exactly get along. You've got all these long, lingering resentments. And so, if you've ever been in a work position, and we've all been there, where you get paired up with people that you don't exactly like, or they don't like you, or you don't like each other, it's fucking awkward. And all it takes is that, that one, little spark. And, the next thing you know, you're fucking off to the races, going after each other's throats. And here they're snapping at each other quite a bit. And so Malcolm is accusing her of not doing what she's supposed to be doing. And he's like, I've lost my family. And she's like, motherfucker, I've lost my entire family too. Go fuck yourself. And I like that about her. She stands up for herself.
Yeah, but then she finally settles down a little bit, and because he kind of reminds her of what they're doing it all for to begin with. And then that's when she's like, okay, I will try.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, have you forgotten about Mina? And she's like, what the fuck, why do you think I'm... Yeah, so it doesn't take much for them to start snapping off on each other. She agrees to give it a shot to try to do something. We know that she has some proficiency with those tarot cards, which we'll get into in a little bit. we shift back, and it's the next day. It's the next day after the end of episode 4, and Brona is dying.
Dying, yes.
She's dying. She's coughing. There's blood all over her pillows from this, consumption, this tuberculosis. We talked about how, having tuberculosis or consumption is essentially a death sentence because they didn't have antibiotics back then. A simple thing that can cure these things, but it didn't exist back then. And she's just coughing herself to death.
Trying to apologize in between, yeah.
Yeah, she's trying to apologize about, how because she really ripped into Ethan, the night before. And we talked about how, kind of, damaged, she is, essentially she's a prostitute, coming out of like a never ending series of bad physical, sexual relationships. And then she meets this guy, but that doesn't solve all of her problems because she's still, kind of fucked up in the head. And so, all her insecurities come up when she, meets Vanessa, and then she sees Dorian, and that's...
Then the whole fear of dying, she's also terrified because she's dying. She finally finds a guy that loves her for who she is and how she is, and she knows she's not going to get to spend her life with him. Yeah.
That's an excellent point. We talked about this too before. She knows she's dying. And, at the end of her life, she actually meets a decent man. Who cares about her. He's not a drunk, he's not a rapist or, some sort of, awful person. And it's nothing she's going to be able to take advantage of. It's very tragic. Brona is a very tragic character. And she will vacillate back and forth as the series, because we're finishing this episode 2 episodes away from finishing the season. And her character is going to take a tremendous arc. She's not done yet. She's not done yet. She's not done yet. That's all I'm going to say. And she is like just one of done. Yeah, I know. Things are not. Let's just say the writers aren't done with her yet. The writers aren't done with her yet. Cool. Yeah, Billie Piper is fucking awesome. I love seeing her in just about everything.
I'm really liking the Ethan character too, man. He's probably the most well-rounded character. It's funny that the one that you meet to begin with, the thief, the one that you think is probably going to be the most dastardly, underhanded little scoundrel, has the most integrity and is the best person of the whole cast, practically. Yeah,
he kind of is the moral compass of the group, and he's a reminder to everybody, to kind of, not let it go too far. And a lot of times go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, not just saying we are human beings after all. Let's show that we have a little bit of humanity.
Yeah, a little bit of humanity. We get into a discussion later where he says, look, buddy, you're not in control of everything. Maybe it's better stop, being this island unto yourself kind of thing and start working with the rest of us and start, trusting us, and trusting Miss Ives and, he even gives Sir Malcolm a little shake, like, hey, buddy, snap out of it. This fucking maudlin shit just isn't, it's not helping all of us, Yeah. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But then what happens next? Who's here but our good buddy, Dorian Gray? And this is kind of a comic episode for me because especially, at least when it comes to Dorian Gray, because this motherfucker just got through getting it on with Ethan the night before, and without missing a beat, he shows up the very next morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to fucking start engaging with Miss Ives.
No shame,
Yeah, no shame. Just as smooth as a baby's ass, just walking right in there. Oh, I'm sorry. I left you yesterday. I apologize. What are you doing today? Let's go hang out, and I'm just like, this motherfucker just not an ounce of shame, like butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. He's so fucking cool, like my mother used to say. Jesus Christ. Do you want to talk about Dorian Gray? This motherfucker.
Oh, man. He has every scene that you have him in, man. This guy, he has something to say. I find myself every few seconds going, just damn, you know what I mean? Because no matter what someone else says, especially with somebody, especially with her, he's got something to say that he's ready to sweep her off her feet. He sweeps her off her feet about every 10 seconds.
Yeah, he is Mr. GQ Smooth. He'd be on your Tinder profile. Just with all the lines and that guy in your DMs. This, that, or the other. Talking to all the ladies and the guys too. Yeah, he's just he's a shameless motherfucker. Just a libertine. He's like, well, do you want to do something? And she's like, now. And he's just like, is there any other time? And I was like, geez, this fucking guy, Christ. So
she buys it though.
Yeah, I mean, like in the middle of like this discussion of vampires, he just waltzes right in. Hey, let's go hang out. She's like, okay, let's go.
Yeah,
I think
even Sir Malcolm said. I thought it was weird that Sir Malcolm said, "Well, sure, go on ahead." Because it seemed like he would have been the one that seemed like she. It kind of reversed it because it seemed like she'd have been the one going, well, yeah, I'd love to. And Sir Malcolm would have been the one going, well, but it was the other way around.
Well, I think that what happens is, Sir, after his conversation, Sir Malcolm sort of realizes that, she has to have a life.
Right.
And, she's young and, I mean, Sir Malcolm isn't elderly, but, he's not her. And I had this conversation within myself, and I was like, maybe Sir Malcolm was thinking, although, not within the context of the show, but if Sir Malcolm was 20 years younger, he would want to date Miss Ives. This kind of thing.
He did care about her. At one time, he still does, but at one time, he did have a lot of love for her. Coming to see her was just like seeing Mina. Basically.
Yeah, he's known. Yeah, and he's often said, you're kind of the daughter I deserve. He's known this girl since she was a small child. She grew up in his house. He's known her whole life. Now, say it again.
I said, and she's basically just mimicking what the type of shit that she's seen him doing with her mother anyway, to begin with.
Yeah, there has to be more to it than just, this, hunt for vampires. And, so he's like, yeah, just go. And especially after the conversation they had at the beginning of the episode, he's much more understanding. Yeah, please, just go, go. Go tonight,
They both kind of settled down and realized that they need to be a little cooler with each other.
Yeah, we need to, we're on the same team,
Yeah.
So that brings us to what I call the HR situation between Caliban and the female actress in the theater. And clearly, where Dorian Gray is the smooth operator, if like that Sade song came on every time he like walked into the stage. Do you remember that old show, the old movie, 16 Candles?
Yes.
And remember Long Duck Dong, and like every time he came on, that big gong came on, all that Chinese music started playing.
Yeah.
If Dorian Gray came on, it would be like Smooth Operator, that old 80s tune.
I fixed a lawnmower routine so Grandpa's hyena don't get disturbed. Yeah.
But on the other end, we have Caliban, who has absolutely no idea how to talk to a woman. And yeah, he's terrified of this woman who walks in, and especially with the way she approaches him, which is with empathy.
Right.
She treats him with respect. He doesn't know how to deal with that. One, she's an attractive woman. He has no idea how to interact, with her on that level. So, all he can do is just put his head down. He's like a seventh grader. He's like a seventh grade boy, like he just has no idea how to talk to girls. She wants a little help with one of her stage props. She starts talking to him about her brother. He had a disfigurement, during some sort of, because this is the Industrial Revolution. So these machines, and people get injured. And she's like, he could never look at anybody either anymore after the accident. So, she just kind of figures that he's, just fell victim to some sort of, mechanical mistake.
Yeah.
So
She's really got him. He liked her anyway. And then when she showed that empathy and she showed that she actually understood him, he was God at that point.
yeah. They're just the hook is in. Someone has talked to him. So you can see the low self-esteem. Someone talked to me. That must mean that she. No, that's not what it means. She's
Right.
just having a conversation with you, like one person to another. But he's so completely under socialized
Yeah, she
that he
needs some
just
things
takes it.
too.
Yeah, he just takes it the other way. He just takes it the other way. So we'll get to that in a minute. Then we come to, again, my boy, my man, Sembene. Sembene comes in and he just tells Sir Malcolm, what do you, it's like that old line from The Untouchables with Sean Connery, what are you prepared to do?
Right.
He's like, I'm going to save her. He's like, no. Somebody's like, no. He goes, maybe you think that, but where I come from, we know that some people cannot be saved. So, what are you actually prepared to do?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, no. I was just gonna say, can you do? When we get there, and what I suspect is going to needs done. Can you do it?
Yeah. Can you pull the trigger?
It'll be your responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you pull the trigger? Can you pull the trigger on your own daughter?
Right. And that made him think. He was like, "But I don't know."
Yeah, because Sembene, he comes from Africa, not exactly the land of happy endings.
Right.
So he looks at he doesn't have that Western sort of optimism, everything's going to work out in the end. So he's not bringing that. He's bringing a lot of, cold reality, into what's happening here. And he's like, know what it is you're going to do.
Yeah.
You need to prepare yourself. I love Sembene. He gets a lot more to do as the series comes in, but every once in a while, and I think that's what makes him stand out, is that he's always there, but he rarely says anything.
When he does, it's something important.
Exactly.
He's confidant that tells him what he needs to be told.
Yeah.
He doesn't sugarcoat it and walk around kissing his ass or telling him what he wants. He tells him the truth.
Yeah, exactly. And he's kind of the servant, but he's also an equal.
Right. Oh,
yeah. He's very much an equal. He goes on these hunts. He's got that big ass Gurkha knife, that big ass Bangladeshi Gurkha knife.
Right.
I love that knife. It's just gorgeous. Just this big ass thing, and he's just slicing and dicing, and he's a really cool character. You get into him more as the show progresses. But that doesn't stop Dorian Gray, because in the middle of the vampire apocalypse, Dorian Gray is setting up a photo shoot. This guy just lives in like the ultimate ivory tower.
Yeah. I thought it was funny that he was wanting her to get her photo taken when she was really not wanting to do it, but I think he could get her to do about anything at this point. And she asked him about getting his photo, and he's like, "No, I prefer painting." It's like, well, why you got me having my picture taken then?
I don't think that. Well, he's another one. He's going to have a huge arc.
Oh yeah.
He's going to have a huge arc as the series progresses.
Mm-hmm.
For now, he's a minor character. He's going to come into play, a lot more. I'm not going to say too much. Let me ask you this. I don't want to put you on the spot. Have you jumped ahead?
No.
Okay. Because that's what I'm doing. I haven't. I've seen it before, so I'm just watching them one at a time. Like I literally watched this right before we went on.
But I do get the feeling that things aren't going to always be so rosy and smooth and easy for him.
We'll see how it plays out. We'll see how it plays out. And then again, we come back to the HR situation with Caliban, and this reminded me of that scene from Psycho, where he's the remake of Psycho, where he leaves that book on her desk, but he's lurking. That Vince Vaughn version of Psycho, where he's lurking behind the wall, which I think is actually in the book. It's not in the Hitchcock version, but in the original source material, he is like hiding behind the wall, looking at the Janet Leigh character. I can't remember her name from the movie. And you're just like, okay, this guy has automatically gone on to full-on stalking.
Marion Crane, that's it. And he's just gone into full-on. Working.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's wanting to see her reaction to his gift, because she had mentioned all the books, and so he gave her one, and he's wanting to see how happy she would be when she got it. Yeah, he was wanting to see that surprise and shit, I think.
Yeah, but
still weird.
Yeah. At the same time, it's just easy to knock on the door and say, here, I just wanted to thank you for your conversation. I thought you might enjoy this. Have a nice day. That's it. But not this guy. He's got to, lurk behind the wall, looking at some woman. And I'll be honest with you. Huh?
I'm not sure he could have brought himself to actually give it to her person.
No, he never could have. Yeah. This is as good as it gets. And I'll be honest, with where he progresses later in the episode, I don't find much sympathy for him.
Right.
He is a monster.
Just when you start feeling sorry for him the most is when he makes you go, you motherfucker.
Yeah. It's not good. We come back to Dr. Frankenstein. He's looking for subjects for his bride. He's got to make he's got to play the dating game with Frank. Imagine that fucking horror show where he's playing the dating game with fucking Frankenstein, like that old show Love Connection or something.
Yeah, but the girl he's looking at is really young.
Wait, what's this? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, he's not thinking about her, is he?
Thinking about who?
The girl, the little girl that's dancing in the window that Victor looks at. He's not. I was thinking,
no. I'll say that much. Yeah, he's not picking out some kid. He's not picking out some kid. But he's. Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that much, but yeah, he's like in the window watching the ballet class go on, and he's kind of sketching some notes out. But it doesn't go in that direction. I'll say that it doesn't go in some like pedophile direction or anything like that. But then we get to our man David Warner, man, and something, seeing him in these 2 episodes only. It's one of the great highlights of the season for me.
Yeah. I think it's one of the last big things he did like that.
Yeah, and he's so damn good, and I feel bad. Maybe he was just contracted for a couple of episodes. I wish they would have done more, because the David Warner Van Helsing in this, automatically raises everything by like 15%.
Great casting. Whoever had that idea was brilliant.
Yeah, but then if you could have just continued with him throughout the series, that just would have been, chef's kiss, right there.
Yeah,
Talking to him about, I think they start talking about Van Helsing. Frankenstein starts talking to him about, fate and, facing the consequences of your actions. That these things you do sometimes in life that you think, are consequence free have a way of come back and biting you in the ass, which clearly is what he's experiencing right now.
Yeah. And he hints that he understands, trust me, I've been there and done that. I understand,
Yeah. And we find out that he actually is Professor Van Helsing, who has had experience dealing with vampires.
Yeah.
But also, and this should not go unmentioned, There's also Van Helsing's warning in life to not be consumed by your work. Do you have some sort of life? Do you have a woman? Is there, a partner in your life and this sort of thing, which he doesn't have? And I'll give you a little hint. That's going to come into play not long from now.
Yeah,
not long from now.
He starts telling him before he tells him all the actual grim news of how much he does know. It's when he starts hinting about the vampires and shit. But yeah. Before that at dinner is when he tells him, "Hey, don't get consumed by it. Trust me, because I did, and shit ended up bad."
Yeah, it can go south. Life itself can go south, but with having to do everything by yourself, it can be much worse. Life is automatically hard. It's best not to go through it alone. I'm going to skip a little bit because we had some, Timothy Dalton approving of her dress and Vanessa going out, and it didn't really, add up to much. But I love this, that Vanessa, through the use of the tarot cards, makes a connection to something on a ship, and Timothy Dalton's like, well, there's a plague ship that just landed from Cairo. I guess he would know these things reading the papers or, just, catching the news. And that's just, that's an ominous kind of thing, because you have from the classic vampire stories like Dracula, the Demeter. That just kind of rolls in and everybody's dead on the ship. Or like the only person you find is the captain who's lashed. So, they're tying in so many great pieces, from the old Gothic, source materials. Go ahead.
It really shows you, a lot of people would love to have that psychic, gift and all that. But, showing how much of a gift it's really not. Because I can imagine looking at a painting or being near a painting and hearing people scream on the fucking thing. You know what I mean? That was kind of cool, but kind of creepy at the same time.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Probably not as great as you might think it is. Probably not as great as.
But anybody that's ever had any kind of a special gift or anything, 99% of them have talked about how hey, it's not as cool as what you think, and not that I believe in psychics or anything, but any little thing like that. That's what I'm saying.
So we come back to a little bit of David Warner, and he starts discussing what actual vampires are. Right. When he talks about how, a vampire seems to have killed his wife.
Yeah. Was that a part of Van Helsing to begin with in any of the stories? Because I know you read a lot.
No, that is not part of the Stoker canon.
Okay.
That's not part of the Stoker canon. Cool. Van Helsing just kind of understands what vampires are. It's that kind of thing.
But that I thought that was a smart idea, tying him in emotionally to vampires. I'm surprised they didn't do that to begin with.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Van Helsing is short-lived in this episode and in this series. Little do we know that he's not long for it. Right. The answer is actually connected to what he calls the penny dreadfuls. These cheap dime store horror stories like the one Ethan and Brona went to about werewolves, and here's one called Varney the Vampire. And he's like, well, the details are kind of fucked up, but these things do actually exist. And I ended up having to chop off my wife's head and drive a stake through her heart. And Frankenstein is like, what the fuck? Even Dr. Frankenstein.
He's like, what the hell? Why? He gives us look like, why in the hell did you do that for? But am I talking to the person I thought I was talking to? But yeah, I didn't realize that that's what penny dreadfuls were. It tells you how little I know about this kind of thing, even though I'm big into Hammer and Universal Horror.
Yeah, the penny dreadfuls are, these, just cheap dime store. They're almost, like the precursors to comic books.
Yeah, I did not know that.
What you might consider comic books. And I imagine probably if you have some of those old ones, they're probably worth quite a bit.
Oh God, yeah.
That would be something. Yeah, I shouldn't have told you that, but that would be something worth collecting.
That's something I can afford to collect, but there's a limit. That's probably something I couldn't even begin to think about.
That's probably outside of most people's range. Those 100-year-old things, yeah. But
I wouldn't even look it up.
So
I wouldn't even dare.
we come back, and Dorian Gray and Vanessa are having dinner, and he outlines kind of his life and 10 or 12 different philosophies that he's pursued. And she's just like, because he looks like he's about 25.
Yeah. How the hell did you fit all that in there?
And she's just like, you've done what? This and that and this and Ludditism and Taoism and, socialism. And he's like, that one didn't work because clearly, he wouldn't be into sharing everything. What's Dorian's is Dorian's, He doesn't strike me as a big sharer.
Yeah, because, she's thinking the whole time, this guy's great. He's good looking. He's kind. He's nice. He's rich. He's got a way with the words. Why is he all alone? You know what I mean? Why is there nobody else around him?
Yeah. Well, maybe she is, and I think I think she thinks that, but not in some sort of
why are you taking
suspicious kind of way.
Right, but she's wondering why aren't you taking? You know what I mean? And as he's telling her all this, he's not adding that in, so it just kind of makes her more curious.
I think it would be easy to figure out that this guy isn't a come home and mow the lawn kind of guy.
He is a little bit too good with the talking.
This is not a guy who works 9 to 5. This isn't his thing. That might be more of a Dr. Frankenstein kind of character, or something like that. You find a nice, sweet girl. He's at least not built this way, at least, at this point. But we come back to David Warner again. He's just all throughout this episode. I think he gets like 3 or 4 different scenes, talking about vampires, that their function is like animals, traveling in packs, eating, surviving, procreating, Why does any animal exist? Any species of, any species of life exist, they move too fast before you realize that, it's over, and then they've moved on, they don't stay in places very long, and before you know it, they've grabbed somebody and they're gone and there's nothing you can do about it. And I love that he uses the line from Dracula, for the dead travel fast. He uses that little bit of German. Because I'm in the process of for this channel of reading Stoker's Dracula. I'm doing chapter by chapter reading once a week, and that is in the first chapter. That is a line from where the women from the village don't want Harker to go and insist that he take the crucifix.
Right.
And he's just like, what? He's like an Anglo, and I think they want to give him like a Catholic rosary or something like that. And she's like, for your mother's sake, the dead travel fast. That's a great Stoker line that they used in there. It's just fantastic.
I read the first half of it. I read about the first half of it about 20 years ago. And I remember little things like him crawling around outside the wall and shit, Harker looking out and seeing him crawling on the outside of the building. I remember that. That's one scene I remember in particular.
Yeah. It's a great story in that it is told through journal entries and letters to friends.
A lot creepier in the book.
Huh?
It's a lot creepier in the book.
Yeah. So we get down into the bottom of the plague ship. Well, before we get to that, I guess we can just get into, Van Helsing. And unfortunately, Van Helsing is grabbed up by the Frankenstein monster, fucking dickhead Caliban, miserable prick Caliban. He's miserable, so everybody else has to be miserable. And he ends up killing fucking Van Helsing. He just grabs him so fast and drags him into an alley in front of Frankenstein and just breaks his fucking neck. And that's where I just like, fuck this guy, eat it, buddy.
It was all to hurt Victor, because anybody that he sees Victor liking or getting along with, that's what he's going to do,
Yeah. Yeah,
You
and
want
I
him to have
just
anybody because he don't have anybody.
yeah, exactly. You know, misery loves company. You know, he's just a fucking asshole. So yeah, you know, and
Yeah, I
unfortunately, that
mean,
take. You know, it'd be one thing if it was just like Eddie Van Helsing, but to take David Warner out,
yeah, I thought he'd be around for a minute. I was like, oh, that sucks.
fuck. So we get back to the plague ship, and another one of those fucking vampire free for alls break out. I guess they have one about every 3 episodes where the shit is just hitting the fan, and you know they're looking for Mina, but she's not in there, and the 3 of them end up taking out about what 30 vampires.
They go in there and start checking them and shit. I think they might just be corpses or whatever because it's really dark and they're checking them and they just think they're dead people, which they basically, I mean, they're the undead kind of. But you know, and then you know, meanwhile, you know, there's rats going around. They end up stirring up shit, and next thing you know, they're all over them.
Yeah, it's a huge fucking mess. You know, you can see one of those like nasty head vampires, you know, are fucking in there, you know, scoping out the scene, you know, kind of hanging back. But in the end, no Mina. I love the practical effects here.
Yeah. Now, is they all kind of looked alike? Would that be considered wives or something? Because you know they all looked alike.
Would that be considered what?
The wives maybe?
Kind of,
Like
yeah.
They all seem, they're all the same.
They seem to have these servants, but then they also seem to have wives.
They're different.
You know this kind of thing going on. That was one of the
they're tougher too.
Huh?
They're tougher than the basic creatures were, like Benton and everything. It took a couple of shots on some of them.
Yeah, you get the impression that they might be older. You know, the brides are always an aspect of the vampires. You know, when you see these types of movies, you know, going all the way back to like Browning's Dracula, you know, with Lugosi, where you get you know, they're kind of like almost zombies, you know, they move like this, but then you start to get into the Hammer films and they're built like Playboy Playmates, you know, and they're, you know, you're busy looking down this chick's shirt, you know, and she's eyeing up your throat, you know, and so, oh yeah, and then, you know, like when we first did Dracula, my buddy Bill said it was like a Bond girl, you know, the next Dracula movie, you wanted to see who was going to be the bride, you know, and, you know, it gets to like Coppola's movie, and it's like a 25-year-old Monica Bellucci, you know, rising out of the bed, and she's fucking naked. And you're like, holy shit! And then it would go all the way to like the that Dracula 2000, where like Jerry Ryan from Star Trek is. Did you see Dracula 2000?
I don't think I did. I seen Dracula Untold, but not 2000.
Oh man, is this it? Yeah. You got to, man. You got to. Okay. I got Eric to cover all. There's 3 of them. But the first one, wait, hold on. I don't know how this works. The first one is Gerard Butler. He's Dracula.
Cool.
And Christopher Plummer is fucking Van Helsing.
That's cool.
Yeah, and Jerry Ryan is one of the brides. She's one of like 3 brides. But the brides in here are just super hot. Super fucking hot. And then there are 2 more with... Jason Lee, is that his name? Jason Lee, the guy who played Bruce Lee in that Dragon movie.
Okay.
You got it. If you can find a copy of this for like $5. Okay. You can find it's Wes Craven. It's Wes Craven. And yeah, it's Wes Craven, and it is fucking good. It is really fucking good. And then the 3rd movie, Dracula. I won't tell you who plays it, and he doesn't come into it until the very end. But it's a nice surprise when you find out who's playing Dracula in that 3rd
one. All right.
So if you get a chance, go watch it. Well, I mean, you know, what happens from there? Dorian Gray ends up giving Vanessa the business, And I guess she really must give her the business because she freaks out and fucking leaves.
Sends her into
She kind of loses that control she has of herself. She has to get out of there. And then, that kind of is the end. Not exactly, but I mean, we get there, and then Dorian Gray. Do they show the portrait here?
I don't think so. I get teased it, but I don't remember actually showing it. Did he?
Hold on, I'm here now. I want to see, and he uses it. He's kind of healing up, and like I said, the story of Dorian Gray is that he does not age, but the portrait of him, the portrait of Dorian Gray, ages, and so he is centuries old, and so the portrait is this horrific sort of hunched over monster while he continues to live for centuries.
So I mean, if you did show it, I'm gonna have to check it out again because I want to see that. So
it wasn't. I just saw it. It wasn't. I didn't want to stream it because I didn't want to get hit with the copyright. But he doesn't show it. But you get kind of the first look that they're going to show you the picture, and at some point they do. At some point they do, and you see him looking at the picture, and I think it's in the second season. It's in the second season. And then we get to the argument between Ethan and Sir Malcolm, telling him to quit being such a self-centered prick. And like you said, I like Ethan's character. He kind of is the moral compass for everybody, keeping people on track. I think along with, well, maybe not so much. I was going to say Sembene, but not really with Sembene. Sembene does the hard shit.
Like the cat,
Yeah, he just snaps that cat's neck and just fucking throws it to, to that vampire. And
my son did not like that.
It's fucked up. Yeah, but he didn't everybody else is like really hardcore. But when he did that, they were like, what the fuck? Like that was even beyond what they were like, that never would have even occurred to them.
Right.
But he doesn't come from that bright, optimistic Western kind of place. Life is much harder probably where he lived. And you'll find out more about Sembene in the next season. But Vanessa comes back and she's still freaked out, and then the next thing you know, she's just fucking levitating.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. Yeah. It's like it went away briefly for a little bit, and then she gets back there, and just as he's asking her about her evening or whatever, she just, without answering, she just kind of floats about.
Yeah, it ends on kind of a cliffhanger. We'll find out more in there's going to be an extensive look at that situation in the next episode.
We didn't mention that on the ship there when that master comes up there, he has me and she's screaming help and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. But he drags her away.
Yeah, and they can't get to her because the fire's in the way.
Yeah. I'm telling you, those vampire effects are fucking great.
Yeah.
Not with the women. The women, it's pretty basic. They've got the white wigs and the pale, but the creature effects on those, those lead vampires. Yeah, it's pretty fucking solid. It's pretty.
They take them back to the Nosferatu type feel, or like what's his name, Salem's Lot type aspect.
Yeah, Barlow, the old Barlow character. Isn't that supposed to drop this year?
Yeah, the remake? They as far as I know, they're shooting it right now.
Oh, are they? I thought it was done.
Or they're just finishing up or something like that. They've been working on it for a minute. For like 2-3 years, it's been talked about. So I think everybody just kind of gave up and wasn't really counting on it. But they actually did. They're either finishing up or they're done.
I have the distinct impression that's going to go the way of Firestarter.
Well, the problem with it is I checked it out. It's like 1 hour and 47 minutes. So how the hell are they going to stick that whole story?
No, come on. That's
It's
just
just one
disrespectful.
film, less than 2 hours. Yep.
That's disrespectful. That is fucking disrespectful. And now I'm not even gonna go.
There's no way you can squeeze all that in there.
No.
There's a reason why it was several parts.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that? That's fucked up.
Juan's not what he used to be. You know what I mean? His last several projects have not been what they were back in the day.
Wait,
he just kind of just puts them out.
Juan's
one of the people making it.
Who's Juan?
James Wan.
Oh, is he producing? He's not directing, is he?
No, I can't remember who's directing. Somebody that's done a couple other things, but it's his production, and I'm not sure who adapted the screenplay either. I don't remember. I had all this written down, but that was a couple months back.
Look, I like his Conjuring universe. I like The Nun. I like La Lorna. And what I love about La Lorna is that there are many different variations of La Lorna. Right. There are quite a few La Lorna movies out there that have nothing to do with the Conjuring universe. The small, independent, and they're good. They're good. There's one on Shudder called La Lorna. And it's really fucking good. It's a Spanish movie set in like Latin America, about like one of those old school Cold War dictators,
right?
Like Pinochet, those evil motherfuckers that were down there, and as usual,
that one Del Toro movie. Oh God,
Pan's Labyrinth.
The Ghost. Pardon?
Pan's Labyrinth? Oh, the Ghosts? No. Oh, the Devil's Backbone.
Yeah, kind of like that guy that ruled that area.
Yeah. That was a good fucking. That's one of my favorite ghost stories. Ghost stories don't get a lot of love.
Right.
They shouldn't. It gets drowned out in stupid slasher flicks and whatever the trend is of the day from the franchises. But every once in a while, you get some real fucking shit coming out from ghost stories. And they're really.
They used to do decent mainstream shows, but now you see 99% of mainstream is basically it is a bullet to the head of the horror genre. And I've become completely against mainstream because back in the day they would make some decent mainstream shit, but not anymore.
Well, the problem is that everything, and I've said this before, everything is producer driven now. They're just driven by the studios. The writers were never in charge, but every once in a while you get lucky with a director or something like that. But now they just own these IPs and they don't give the production houses don't give a fuck about them. They're cash cows. They're cash cows.
Stamp, get it out. Stamp, get it out. Stamp, get
exactly.
it out. Like a production line.
Yeah, and there's no thought to quality anymore.
Yeah.
Unless you're working with a Del Toro or a Mike Flanagan. I just picked up, if we're going to talk about hauntings, I got The Haunting of Bly Manor and The Haunting of Hill House. These are Netflix original series, but I got them on Blu-ray. These are quality. But Mike Flanagan, he's basically making a 10-hour movie.
Right.
So you can do a lot with that. Eric and I just finished Midnight Mass. Flanagan made a 7-hour movie. And how can it not be fucking great coming from Mike Flanagan? If you get a chance and you have Netflix, see Midnight Mass.
Okay. Cool.
It's unbelievable. So there are people that are actually doing it, but yeah. By now, like I have to know the names. Like if it's like David Gordon Green or some Blumhouse shit, then I'm just like, fuck, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Well, now started out well. They back to say 2010, 2011, 2012 there, but now hell no.
Yeah.
Sinister and stuff. Sinister was a good movie, and they did a few good ones of Blumhouse to begin with.
Well, those were Sinister. That was James Wan, right?
That was
no, he did Insidious.
Yeah, Sinister stars Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the novelist that moves into the houses or moves close to the houses that where a tragedy happened and writes the crime.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get a big star. Like I didn't see Black Phone. I didn't see the Black Phone.
I see it. I was disappointed.
Really? Okay, so yeah, I'm not. I wasn't crazy about it. I know it was a Joe Hill story.
You didn't get enough of Ethan Hawke and his killer character, in my opinion. They made it like it was going to be a lot more about him than what it was. It turned out to be about this over here. I don't know. I mean, you can give it a try. I mean, you might like it, but I was disappointed.
Yeah,
it wasn't enough.
Like I said, 9 out of 10 times. I won't say 99%, but I'd say 90% of the time I could look at something and tell if I'm going to like it before I'm like, no, I'm not watching that. And 90% of the time I'm right. So yeah,
I was letting down with it.
Yeah, so there you go.
I'm not the only one. Everybody else seems to like it, but I'm the only one that I've heard so far, basically, that it said that.
Yeah, like I said, I don't see myself doing it. Is there anything about the episode that we did not bring up that we should?
That's about the one that I could think of was the fact that Mina was there and the fire separated them from, and Malcolm was trying to run into it. They were pulling him back. Yeah.
We're going to be veering off again in the next episode, as it's going to be another Vanessa-centered episode, but we're going to be getting away from the vampires, and it's pretty fucking intense. It's going to be a very intense episode. Okay. I'm looking forward to it. There's no Easter. There's no WrestleMania, so hopefully we can get back on the Sunday track. That would be good. Huh?
I wasn't thinking about this Sunday being Easter when we planned on doing it Sunday.
Same here. Same here. All right. Do you want to plug your week?
Yeah. Tonight, let me see. Tonight will be episode 4 of For the Horror of It with myself and Ocean Chicks Films at 10 o'clock tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be doing the original Phantasm. It's a watch discussion, commentary / community chat type thing. And Friday, I will be talking to Exorcist Reviews, and it will be a 50th anniversary total original Exorcist discussion.
Only very nice.
Based on the original. I'm so looking forward to it. I've been wanting to have an Exorcist talk, long-term Exorcist talk with somebody for a long time. And then Monday, I start my next chapter of my Italian horror marathon Monday watches. I start with Dario Argento. Well, second one is going to be Argento. I just finished with Fulci. It's going to be, and I'm going to start with the original.
I saw that. Okay. I'm not an Argento fan. It gives me a headache for some reason. And I know Julia, who I have on the show. I think you've met Julia. She says the style is the movie. But for me, Argento films, the attempts at what they do doesn't match with the technology of the time. I don't know if that makes any sense. And I'm just like, oh, no, this is okay. Like if they were made today, maybe it would be, you'd be able to do more, but that's always just been my opinion. I love, however, and we've talked about this, the remake with Tilda Swinton. I have that on Blu-ray around here somewhere, but I love that movie. So probably Tilda Swinton has a lot to do with it.
Oh yeah.
All right. Is that it for your week?
Yeah, I covered Tuesday and Friday. I'll probably throw something else in there somewhere. The last couple of weeks I haven't been doing as much. Like last night with what I did, my sinuses are bugging me real bad, and I just didn't feel so good. So far today, I'm doing good. Hopefully tonight will be a good show. Last night I just didn't feel, I didn't feel real well, so I wasn't exactly all that animated. But tonight I plan on being as animated as possible. That's why I'm going to grab a nap and munch on something and get at it.
Sounds good. All right, for this channel, I'll be back on Wednesday, finishing chapter 2 of Dracula by Bram Stoker. So that's going to be fun. And then on Thursday, I'm really taking something on. I am going to sit down and read. I'm going to continue with these readings of H.P. Lovecraft's The Dunwich Horror. I'm just going to pull it out on Kindle and start talking. and go from there. So one of these things that I've always wanted to do was voiceover work, that kind of thing. And so this is, an opportunity to at least do the work. They ain't going to write me no check for this, but, you pick out the things that you like to read, and then you just sit down in front of the microphone and you start talking. So that's it for me this week. And then we'll be back next Sunday with episode 7, Penny Dreadful, and I believe it's entitled Possession. So that might tell you what's coming. My thanks to the Agoraphobe for joining us once again. And we'll see you in the next video. All right, guys. Have a good one.